The Titanic, a legend of the seas. An imposing ship that symbolized luxury and innovation, but met a tragic fate in the depths of the ocean. Over a century later, it still holds secrets. But what if I told you that the Titanic is disappearing? Yes, and the reason might surprise you. In 1912, the Titanic was the largest and most luxurious ship ever built. With an impressive 270 meters in length, nearly the equivalent of 3 football fields, and a height equal to a 25-story building, the ship weighed 46,000 tons. It was a true floating city, equipped with the most sophisticated lounges, luxurious restaurants, and even a heated pool, something extremely rare at the time. Its maiden voyage left England, heading to New York, attracting passengers from all walks of life. Billionaires, businesspeople, and even immigrants in search of the American dream boarded what promised to be the safest and most comfortable crossing in history. But what no one knew was that this journey would become one of the greatest maritime tragedies of all time. On the night of April 14, 1912, 4 days after the journey began, the Titanic sailed under a starry sky in the North Atlantic. The water temperature was below freezing, and everything seemed calm. Until, just before midnight, the crew spotted a massive iceberg directly ahead. First Officer Murdoch ordered a desperate maneuver to steer away, but it was too late. The iceberg ripped through the Titanic's hull in several places, flooding the lower compartments. In less than 3 hours, the unsinkable ship was doomed. With too few lifeboats and a chaotic evacuation, more than 1,500 people lost their lives in the freezing waters of the Atlantic. Only 706 passengers and crew survived, most of them from first class. The Titanic, a symbol of grandeur and innovation, vanished forever into the depths of the ocean. For more than 7 decades, the Titanic's wreckage remained hidden in the depths of the North Atlantic, untouched and unseen. Many tried to find it, but the ocean left no trace. It was only in 1985 that one man finally solved this mystery. Robert Ballard, a renowned oceanographer, led an innovative expedition to locate the world's most famous shipwreck. Using revolutionary technology for the time, he and his team employed robotic submarines equipped with cameras and advanced sonar. After days of searching, on September 1, 1985, images began to appear. First, massive boilers appeared on the screen. And soon after, the Titanic's bow emerged from the ocean's shadows. It was a historic moment. The Titanic had been found, nearly 4,000 meters deep. But what Ballard saw was astonishing. The ship was not intact, and the tragedy was even greater than imagined. After the wreckage of the Titanic was discovered, a question arose. Could it be brought back to the surface? Over the years, several ideas were proposed, some quite daring. One of the most popular theories suggested inflating enormous air balloons beneath the ship, slowly bringing it to the surface. Others involved using giant cranes or even injecting foam into the hull to create buoyancy. But they all had one major problem: the extreme depth. The Titanic lies at an astonishing 3,800 meters below the surface, where the pressure is 380 times greater than at sea level. To give you an idea, any structure attempting to raise the ship would be crushed before completing the mission. Moreover, after over a century submerged, the Titanic is incredibly fragile. Moving it could destroy it entirely. The most successful attempt came in 1998, when a 20-ton section of the hull was lifted a few meters before being brought to the surface. But the idea of recovering the Titanic in its entirety was officially abandoned. It became part of the ocean. And perhaps that's how it should remain. Now, more than a century after its sinking, the Titanic is undergoing an unprecedented process of destruction. The saltwater of the Atlantic has proven to be an unrelenting enemy, corroding the ship's structure. The metal, once imposing and solid, is slowly disintegrating. Moreover, the ocean floor is a hostile environment, where extreme pressure and freezing temperatures accelerate the corrosion even further. But the true culprit for this degradation is a surprise: marine microbes. These organisms, known as extremophiles, can survive in extremely adverse conditions and feed on the Titanic's metal. They are responsible for the formation of rust stalactites that cover the hull and hasten the ship's destruction. Scientists monitoring the wreckage warn that, at such an accelerated rate, the Titanic could completely disappear by 2030. The ship's structure is already so weakened that there are no guarantees it will survive much longer, even in a fragmented state. With the Titanic deteriorating rapidly, a major moral question has arisen. What should be done with the parts that can still be recovered? For many preservationists, it's vital that these artifacts are recovered, not just to preserve history, but to remember the lives lost on that fateful day. Recovered items, such as jewelry, toys, plates, and other personal belongings, are relics that directly connect us to the tragedy. They offer a window into the past, allowing us to better understand the people who were aboard, their lives, and the luxury that the Titanic represented. For preservationists, these artifacts deserve to be preserved and displayed so that future generations will never forget what happened. However, there are those who argue that the Titanic should be treated with due respect, as a tomb. After the death of more than 1,500 people, many believe the ship and its wreckage should be left in peace. For these people, the idea of removing artifacts and displaying them in museums is a form of exploitation, something that violates the memory of those who died. To this day, no human remains have been found in the expeditions carried out. It's believed that the victims' bodies were consumed by marine organisms or dissolved by the acidity of the water. Some scientists say there's still a possibility of finding human remains in areas of the ship where oxygen is scarce, but this remains uncertain. Despite over 200 dives so far, no evidence of human remains has been found, but the debate continues. On one side, preservationists who want to preserve these artifacts as historical testimonies. On the other, those who believe the Titanic is a sacred site and should be left untouched as a memorial to the souls lost in that disaster. For those willing to spend an astronomical amount, there's a unique opportunity to experience the Titanic up close. For about $100,000, companies offer expeditions to the ocean floor, allowing you to see the wreckage of the world's most famous ship with your own eyes. These expeditions cater to adventurers and tourists with an insatiable desire to see what remains of the ship. However, the question remains, how far should we go to explore the Titanic? Should it be treated as a monument, accessible only to the wealthiest, or should we respect its history as a tomb, a sacred site for the more than 1,500 lost souls? This debate still sparks intense discussions, and the answer is clearly not simple. The Titanic remains a symbol of tragedy, mystery, and history. While some believe we should rescue what remains, others argue it should stay intact at the bottom of the ocean. Now, we want to know your opinion. Do you think we should rescue parts of the Titanic and preserve them in exhibitions? Or should we respect the ship as a tomb and leave the wreckage where it is, with no further intervention? Leave your comment below. We want to know what you think about the future of the Titanic. See you next time.